the question, I guess, where I left off on is, would you say that you enjoyed your job and your time over in Japan?
Yes, I did very much. I enjoyed the people, and I got to meet some very nice people while in the 3 years I was there. The whole family. And I got to talk to them and see what they thought about the war and why they hated us so much.
Yeah.
And they said they hated us because we stuck our nose in and we helped China when they were having trouble with Japan.
Oh, I didn't know that we helped China.
Well, in 1938, Fox's Rebellion, and
okay.
Japan had to take their troops and stuff over. They were trying to conquer some land for the people in Japan to expand.
Yeah.
And we stepped in, and they made a movie out of it.
Oh.
Where it was, I'm trying to think of the name, it was in Japan, we sent people to Japan, to China, and they made a movie out of it called The Flying Tigers.
Oh, okay, never heard of it. No.
And they, in turn, we furnished the airplanes, the bullets, and the bombs, and then we paid some mercenary pilots to shoot down the Japanese kids that were flying the airplanes, and gave them $500 for every one or whatever.
Oh, well.
So that's bound to make some money. In other words, we stuck our nose in where we don't belong.
Yeah, we seem to do that a lot.
We do it too much.
Yeah.
And that's how come we end up in somebody's out the door.
Yeah.
Because they all just sit there and wait for America, who's got a lot of money. And they figure a way of getting money out of us so that they get free things. We've got one going that's been going since Harry S. Truman to help Iran.
Yeah.
And it's been going for 40 years, from president to president to president to president. And the Congress right now, even though they couldn't give the senior citizens a raise, are thinking about giving Iran $500 million to expand their dam and to irrigate their crops.
But then they were the ones that were, Iran, right, was the one that was hiding Osama bin Laden, right? So they're not really our friend. Wasn't it them?
We're always giving money away trying to buy somebody's friendship. And to be honest with you, no matter where I've been in the world, they hate our guts.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
They think that we have all kinds of money. You were in Germany, and all you had to do was keep your eyes open and your ears, and you find out that they resented you being there. Just like they did in Italy and the different places that your grandmother and I went to.
Yeah.
Well, your streets are paved with gold, so you can afford it. No, they're paved with sweat. People working, trying to get ahead. And if you want the same thing we've got, get to work.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, what's the first question?
All right, let's see. Were you a part of any specific missions, or like by the time you were there, were they all over?
No, they weren't all over, and I'm not allowed to tell you what missions I was involved in.
Yeah?
No, I mean, it's because I was working for GQ Intelligence
Oh, okay.
at that time, and they were classified missions.
Oh, all right. Well, that's kind of cool.
They were trying to keep other people from going into the invasion of Japan.
Yeah.
And that's all I can tell you. It was like that. Because that's what happened in Germany when the Russians turned around and went in. We let them garf up all the good scientists that were there, and they took them back to Russia, and we never saw them again. They didn't kill them.
Yeah.
They used. Okay.
All right. Alright.
Okay.
Did
That
you?
answers that question.
Yeah, that answered that one. When you were gone, did you have any contact with your family?
Well, the only thing I had was letter writing back and forth. We
Yeah.
didn't have computers, and we didn't have telephone service to the United States.
Right.
So most we could do was send letters home,
Okay.
and they would send letters to us.
Mhm. After you joined up, did you get to take any leave, or weren't you able to like go back or go anywheres or
In the
anything?
military, you get so much vacation
Uh-huh.
every year,
Yeah.
and like I had 30 days, and there was nowhere to go. In other words, you couldn't fly home.
Mhm.
It would take 21 days to get home by ship.
Mhm.
They didn't have the airplanes that flew that far back in that time.
Right.
So we would go to Sugar Heights, which is a place up on Upper Honshu, the island of
Mhm.
Japan is broken up into 3 or 4 different islands.
Okay.
Hokkaido, Honshu, and at the upper end, which goes north towards the Aleutian Islands. That was a good place, and they had a place where you could go up there and spend a week or two. You had room and board,
Mhm.
and your meals and all that stuff. And then they had the hot springs for some of the volcanoes,
Oh yeah.
where you could go into the pools and soak. And you could go outside after, and you could go skiing.
Oh, that's funny.
It's just the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean, the volcanoes heated the water, and they turned around and routed it to the swimming pools in the villas. And the Aleutian Islands are in the northern part of the hemisphere, and outdoors it's probably 5 below, or it might be 10 below zero.
Mhm.
And so the snow was still there, so you could go skiing.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anything like snowmobiles back then or any of that.
Right. Did you receive any awards for your service? You kind of touched on that before, that you didn't get one award that you were supposed to get, but
What do you mean?
I don't know, did any, like, you were saying that you're supposed to get some little medal that you didn't get, but what did you end up getting? Do you know, like any, I don't know, award, little medal things, or... Mom took pictures.
No, I didn't get anything special. Let's say I got one letter once I got home from Harry S. Truman, the president,
Mm-hmm.
thanking me for my service in the military. I don't even know where that is.
Yeah.
And all the rest of the stuff that they said that they were supposed to send me, I never got it.
You never got anything?
I never pursued it.
Right.
It didn't mean that much to me to turn around and go to the VA and fight to
Mm-hmm.
to get the stuff. So,
Yeah. Mom took a picture, I think, when she was up there of a few little things that you did get, though. What were those?
Oh, I had some of them that were given to me while I was on the base. Ribbons
Yeah.
that were, like you see these guys with all these different ribbons on their jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
They have 15, 20 of them, and each one denotes where you served. If you served in the Philippines, you served in Hawaii, the Solomon Islands, Japan, Korea. There's a ribbon for everyone.
Oh, okay.
So they can make you look like you're something. So a lot of those they just give you there. You don't have to wait until you get discharged.
Right. So then that's all you were able to get were your ribbons, and then the other things they never got you, is what you're saying?
Yeah, the
Oh.
other things,
Huh.
the victory medal and the rest of the stuff, I didn't get them. I never got them.
That's weird.
No.
Hmm.
And that's over 50 years ago.
Yeah. Guess you're taking a really, really long time, huh?
Yeah, and it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
That isn't why I served,
Mhm.
to get a medal.
Yeah.
I wanted to do my share and my help
Yeah.
not to be in it. Okay?
Yeah.
What's next?
My next question is, how would you describe being part of a war? Do you have anything that you would describe, like, what war was like, I guess?
I don't understand what you mean here.
Like if you had described to someone what it was like being part of the war, did you have anything that you would like tell them, I guess?
Well, I was very thankful that I wasn't into the fierce fighting like most of them had
Yeah.
after Pearl Harbor and the Solomon Islands and the Philippines and all that. I really don't relish killing anybody,
Yeah.
and I was spared that. To have to, we did a couple of different escapades where some hadn't surrendered,
Mhm.
and we militarily went with a squad and stuff, and we handcuffed them, okay,
Mhm.
and brought them out of the caves that they were living in, and give them over to the provost marshal, who's the police chief, but an American police chief.
Yeah.
And they in turn talked to them, sent them to classes, that the war was over, and to stop, doing things that were wrong, or
Yeah.
you might hurt or kill somebody, and then we would kill them.
Yeah.
So, clean up.
What'd you say? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing.
What?
I didn't hear the last thing that you said. For some reason, my phone was making a weird noise.
Yeah, I keep hearing the thing. It's on your end of the phone.
Yeah, I think I think I fixed it now. My dad sent me a message or something, I guess, but I got like one of those text message things. I think I got rid of it. So
Oh, good.
okay, so then let's see. What would you say the hardest part of being part of the war in the military was?
The hardest part of being in the service, especially when you've been deployed to a foreign country and you know you can't get home for birthdays, holidays, and even have a hard time when funerals, somebody dies and you can't just say, well, I'll take a plane and I'll fly back to the United States.
Mhm.
If they don't fly that far, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So you miss out on those things, and I think that's about the hardest part of serving your country. That when you're over there, you're stuck there
Yeah.
for one reason or the other. Today, and even back then,
Mhm.
no matter what you were doing, I was fortunate enough that I had more money coming in than a lot of them did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so much the idea, but that I couldn't buy a plane ticket
Right.
because there was no plane ticket.
Yeah, there didn't exist. Yeah.
There was no planes to fly home
Right.
on your mother's birthday or Christmas or your father's and death in the family. You just couldn't do anything, and you knew it was inevitable, and you prayed that something like that wouldn't happen.
Yeah. Did you miss any funerals, or did anyone pass away while you were gone, or?
I was very fortunate.
Okay.
I was very, very fortunate that while the time I was in, nothing traumatic happened within my family.
Right.
So I was very
Yeah.
fortunate.
All right. Let's see. Looking back, do you think that being in the military affected like who you are in any way? Like, do you think you're a better person or a worse person or anything because of your time that you're in?
I think it made me grow up and to grow in responsibility and consideration for other people. And it was a more maturing thing for me.
Yeah.
Because I was just a young teenager, going to conquer the world.
Mhm.
And in turn, you found out that there were certain restrictions on conquering the world.
Yeah.
When somebody told you to do something, you would do it,
Mhm.
or there was consequences.
Right.
So it helped you grow up and become a better person. I believe it anyway.
Yeah. A lot of people still, like today, join up to like mature, if they're not ready to go to college or that type of thing. A lot of people still do that.
Now, I had the benefits of that, and when I got home and having served in World War II as a World War II veteran, I could have gone to college and so on, but I was more interested in finding a job, and the job situation in America at that time, 1949, was not very good.
Mhm.
And so I went from one type of job to another and another and another. You work 6 months or a year, you get laid off, then come back and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of different things. I delivered magazines to drugstores. I turned around and got into painting. When they had a contract, somebody hired you,
Mhm.
and you would turn around and do the painting that you were told to do. I worked in a paper mill where my father worked, and then I went and I got a job at the General Electric. I did the electrical there, training.
Mhm.
One of the things as I was progressing, I was learning how to do things as well.
Yeah.
So it was a learning experience.
Mhm. So did you not go to college, or did you go to college at one point, or?
No, as I say, I took courses and stuff like in the service. But
Right.
Academically, they didn't assign them towards your college merit. So
Right.
it was a whole different thing about college back then.
So you didn't end up with a college degree. You just went on to getting jobs, is what you were saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
There wasn't some course you could turn around and say, well, I want to do this, I want to do that,
Mhm.
and I'll take these courses for it. And you didn't have a computer. You had to go to the college. You had to be able to find a place to stay. You didn't get enough money for free board and room, so
Yeah.
you had to have a job as well, nor to eat.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't all a picnic.
Right. Yeah.
And then now they allow you so much money,
Right. Yeah.
so for you to continue your college.
Yeah. Even when you get out, they give you a certain amount of money, for school, and a certain amount of money, to if you're going to school for living.
That came out 2 or 3 wars later.
Yep, I know. Well, you said that the military, you think, helped you grow up. Do you think you learned any life lessons from it?
I don't get what you mean about that. I'm sorry. Because on this telephone or on the telephone, when you speak fast, it's kind of tinny.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll say it slower, and hopefully you can hear. You said that you think that the military, being in the military, helped you mature and grow up. But do you think that you learned any life lessons from it necessarily?
Yes, it did. It helped me grow up. It helped me mature. And then as I went up in the ranks to, as a private, and then a corporal, PFC, so on and so forth, and became a sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to give orders
Mm-hmm.
to the men that were working for me,
Yeah.
and I learned how not to give orders, like saying, "Hey, do that,"
Yeah.
Would you mind, taking those oil pans and bringing them over behind the hangar into the grease pit and dump them out? It looks like they're going to spill on the runway, and you don't want them on the tires.
Yeah.
So, you learn to be a little more considerate of the individuals, and they had to do it, no matter if you yelled at them,
Right.
or if you talked to them nicely. So,
Yeah.
I only had a couple couple of different ones that came to work for me.
Yeah.
And I had crew chiefs and stuff. And I was assigned like to so many airplanes
Mhm.
as flight engineer,
Yeah.
besides doing the test flights.
Yeah. So.
On each one I had a crew, and they were small aircraft, not the big ones like they've got now. I mean, they were like twin engine jobbers,
Mhm.
single engine. So you'd only have one or two men on, or maybe three men on an airplane
Yeah.
that were doing the maintenance and so on. So
Okay. Well, I did have a question I forgot I was going to ask, related to one I asked yesterday. Was that, so you did actually fly the planes then? Because Mom told me before, I don't know, a while ago or something, that she thought that you got to, like, ride along, but she thought that maybe you didn't actually fly the planes. So I was just a little confused.
well, in most of the planes that I flew in,
Mm-hmm.
they were dual control planes. In other words, there was a place for the pilot and a place for the co-pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat in the co-pilot because the only ones that could go on a test flight was the pilot and myself as the flight engineer.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And most of the ones that I had to fly with were that good. They knew that I wanted to fly.
Yeah.
And in our talking, in our conversation. And they were the ones that would let me fly.
Oh, okay.
I was not a pilot per se,
Right.
but I learned to fly, and I learned to fly an airplane, and how the ailerons worked, and your left and your right, and your tail, and how to make the turns, and so on.
Oh, that's cool.
And then they would help me out in case I was in problems.
Yeah.
I got to fly.
Oh, okay. But it just wasn't necessarily your job, but it was they, let you, kind of, the pilots let you.
Yeah, it wasn't training.
Mm-hmm.
The only place I could fly alone is in, it's a machine
Mm-hmm.
that simulates transport,
Yeah.
an airplane, and in that simulator, you plot a map, and then you turn around and fly, and don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You're in the room. So, they have that out. They've even got it out now, I think, something like that, in a game situation.
Yeah. But-
Computers.
yeah. Do you think that being in the military gave you any skills that you were able to use after? Like, did it give you work skills that helped you in your next job or anything? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because when I went to schooling and stuff, I learned things about wiring. I learned things about direct current, electricity, standard, you were taking classes like you were,
Yeah.
and you were going, well, some of them were in a classroom, both in the States, and some of them were in the classroom overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And so you learned while you were gathering up, and that's how you got your rank
Right.
as you done,
Mm-hmm. Are you proud of having served in the military?
Yes, I am. And I would serve again if I had to.
Yeah.
I'm a little old, I couldn't.
I don't think they'd let you anymore. But like, it would be something like if you went back, that it would be something that you would do again.
Yes.
Yeah.
As I say, it's one of those things that you figure that you've been trained. Well, when it came to weaponry, I enjoyed, because I had enjoyed it while I was in school here in the States. I learned how to shoot guns.
Yeah.
And when I got over there, I made an expert marksman.
Oh yeah.
And 197 out of 400 points.
Mhm.
And they wanted me to go to sniper. Would I be interested in going to sniper? I said, no.
Oh.
It would affect my flying, and I really didn't want to go there and just shoot somebody
Right.
the government. So,
That's cool though.
but I learned, but there again, I learned how to handle weapons, how to clean them, how to take care of them. I made sharpshooter with a 45. I made expert with carbine rifles. If I had to, I could load weapons. I could turn around and use them, and I could hit what I aimed at.
Yeah.
And if something came in and somebody invaded the United States or whatever,
Mhm.
I could turn around and defend my end of it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. What was it like returning home, and did it take any like adjusting, after being overseas for so long?
Well, when you came back to civilian life, you didn't have somebody always telling you what to do.
Mhm.
And as I said, there weren't any jobs. Back then they had 5220. In other words, when you get out of the service, for 52 weeks, the federal government had given the money to the unemployment offices for you.
Okay.
You got $20 a week.
Hmm.
That was it.
Oh wow.
You don't go very far on $20. Even back then, you didn't go very far
Yeah.
on $20.
Hmm.
So, but it was something that was a little bit better than me. And I was still living with my mother and father.
Yeah.
I came home with my two brothers. So in turn, I took part of my 20. I gave them half of it.
Hmm.
Then gave them $10 a week for like my room and board.
Yeah.
And I had $10 to spend. Like a carton of cigarettes back then were only $1.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Hmm.
But times have changed. That's
Yep. Everything's a lot more expensive, but people make a lot more money now too. So I guess it kind of evens out a bit.
Yeah, well, everything goes, according to the standards of the whole world.
Yeah.
Consequently, I don't know what they pay them now, but they make a hell of a lot more than I did. And when they get out of the service, they
Mhm.
don't have 5220.
Yeah.
In other words, you're just out of the service, and you got to go find a job, or you go back to where you worked before if they have it open for you.
Right. Did you get any additional money or anything because you did get, your nose broken?
Well, I sent money home
Yeah.
because I had 20% for being outside the States, and I had 50% for being on flying status. So I was making, instead of $100 a month, I was making $170 a month.
Mhm.
So I had more money than I actually needed because my room and board was there, the mess hall was there, the food was there.
Yeah.
So I would send money home to my mother and to help my parents, and my mother said, well, I don't want you to send home. I said, well, then just what you don't need or what you do need, use, and then put the rest of it in the bank account.
Mhm.
And then when I got home, I had some extra money in the bank account
Okay.
that she had put away for me.
Oh, that's nice. Alright.
Well, the family works together.
Yeah. So then, what was the reason that you didn't make a career out of the military? Were you planning on it, and were you planning on staying in longer, and then you didn't have a choice because you broke your nose, or did you always plan to get out?
Well, I think that I was like everybody else. We had enough of it. They made me several offers.
Mhm.
I could have been a warrant officer, which is between a enlisted man and an officer, if I stayed in and so on. But then I didn't know where I was going, what I was going. I didn't want to be away from my family. So I decided that I would go back into the population area and not the military.
Yeah.
And at times I regret it. Because I could have turned around and put in 20 years, and I would have had a pension.
Yeah.
and I still would have been about 38 years old. I
Yeah.
still could have got a job somewhere else along with it. But
Right.
when you make a choice, doesn't always be the right one.
Yeah.
But at least I didn't ship out. I didn't have to go to Europe. I didn't have to go to Germany, France, Spain, or any of the other military bases.
Mhm.
I was able to be with my family, which I enjoyed.
Right. What is your overall opinion of the war? Did you think that there were any positives that came out of it, or no?
Well, we stopped Hitler. Okay?
Mhm.
I mean, if you've got a computer, now, if you bring up the Bush family, okay, we had a President Bush, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had his son,
Mhm.
didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Mhm.
Okay, and Grandpa Bush, the father of those two boys,
Uh huh.
okay, all right, when I brought him up on the computer on the Bush family, behind him, he was a senator.
Mhm.
He was in politics. And he was brought up and censured by Congress
Yeah.
in 1938 for giving money to Adolf Hitler.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to help Hitler get ahead to protect the Bush family investments
Yeah.
that they had in Germany and the Bulgarians.
Hmm.
And he got almost thrown out of this, I don't know if he was in the House or the Senate,
Yeah.
but he was censured and everything else. But we just overlooked that, and we let his sons become governor of Florida, president of the United States, and so on.
Yeah. Hmm.
So we don't even dig into it. And you never even heard it.
No, I've never heard it. Huh.
And I had never heard it until I ended up with a computer, and I happened to bring it up when they elected. When Junior was getting married, W.
Yeah.
And I asked Google, give me the history of the Bush family, you know?
Yeah.
And they did. And what the hell is this thing behind the Bush family?
Hmm.
A square, a yellow square with a black swastika in it.
Huh.
That's a Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
And then when I read the article on it, that's when I read the rest of it.
Hmm.
Their grandfather had been obeying and abiding to the enemy.
That's weird.
And helped him get into power, which helped to start World War II over in Germany.
Huh. Yeah, I've never heard of that before.
No, a lot of people haven't. I have an inquisitive mind, and I stumbled onto it.
Yeah. So let's see. Those were all the military questions. Is it okay if I ask you some more questions?
Okay, well,
All right. Well, I had some questions about. I needed to have a couple things like beyond just the military. So I was thinking about asking you some questions about building your own house. Is that okay?
well, in all the different jobs that I worked in, each one I learned something. And then it was at Finch Pines, I worked logging on the river, getting the last of the logs down that it had a mandate out to clean up the river. And then when I went inside, I learned to run machinery. And I went into maintenance, and then I went into electrical, and I learned more on how to do electrical problems and stuff.
Yeah.
And we changed over the paper mill from 40 cycle to 60 cycle. So I learned that. I learned quite a few how to safely do a job and so on. These all added to things.
Yeah.
So that when I got through from one job to another, and then when we had it all changed over from 40 to 60, then there was the layoff that came.
Yeah.
And the lower men were told that we were going to be laid off, and they didn't know for how long.
Yeah.
Okay. And the detailer that IBEW electrical workers. They probably go have work for you in some different places. Well, they did. Boston, by the Canadian border,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. I was married then. My wife was having a baby.
Mhm.
The baby was Michelle was almost a year old.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to Boston and live there. I couldn't go to Pennsylvania and live there. I couldn't go to the Canadian border and live there. And have to pay for room and board, food, and everything else. So I turned it down, and that's when I got, luckily, I got a job at the General Electric. They were hiring, and they wouldn't let me go right into maintenance because of the union and stuff, which was all right. But I had a job, I was making money, and I had insurance coverage. So then I turned around and after I'd been there and worked my way up and bid on different jobs, got into where I learned how to run a punch cutter. In other words, how to cut paper into what you put into your printer and all that stuff from the big sheets. So I learned different things.
Yeah.
And plus learning how to do electrical.
Yeah.
So that I could turn around and utilize that. And working in maintenance, I learned how to do copper and stuff. And then when I went to GE, I went to their maintenance. I learned more.
Yeah.
Because I had a background in how to do plumbing and heating and electrical. So I extended, and the guy I worked with, the Dash 9 from across the street, he was going to bill out. And I said, well, how are you going to do it? He said, well, some of the guys are going to help me. And he said, then when they buy some land and stuff, I'll try to reciprocate by helping them. Well, I thought it was a good deal. And I told him, well, I'll help you. And that's how come I ended up here, right across the street from Dashnock.
Yeah.
I helped build his house. And when his house was built, he helped me build ours.
Okay.
Some of my other workers at the GE, they had burned out. So
Yeah. So how did you decide to make your own house versus everybody else? And probably a lot of people were getting people to build them for them. How did you decide to do that?
well, I just couldn't afford it.
Oh, okay.
With 2 children and so on, and paying rent, and and all the rest of the stuff, and feeding them and feeding me and the whole 9 yards. I couldn't afford it. The only way I could afford it was, and the bank wouldn't give me a loan
Right.
to build a house because I wasn't a qualified contractor. So I got a loan through the Federal Housing Administration and the federal government, and if you had a certain piece of land of a certain size and so on, that was in farmland contingency, you could turn around and apply for the loan.
Yeah.
And I met the requirements.
Okay.
And I could apply for the loan that the land had to be free and clear, which I had bought the land across from Dashnock, and I put a down payment on it, and I was able to pay it off as I went along. So, one step at a time. You just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it didn't, it wasn't like you could turn around and after over 20 years, Nana didn't work. So she stayed home and took care of the children.
Yeah.
And so there was only one paycheck, and you turn around and file your income tax, and you found out that with all your overtime and everything else, that you would end up contributing more than was necessary, and you got a return check.
Yeah.
And that's how come I bought the land with that money for a down payment, and then Ernie let me pay it off as we went along.
Mhm.
But when I applied for the loan for the other, the government turned around and I met the requirements. The land was mine,
Mhm.
and I was able to get some money from them to be able to build the cellar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
So, how soon after you got out of the military did you meet Nana? I'm just curious.
How did I what?
How soon after you got out of the military did you meet Nana?
Oh, let's see, 49. We were married in 53, so it was 4 or 5 years.
Oh, okay.
And I met her on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Group of us were out. She was with another guy, I was with another girl.
Oh.
No, it was a good girl. I dated 4 or 5 different girls.
Yeah.
And I liked what I saw. And got talking and dancing with her and so on and so forth. I asked her about Fox, the guy she was with. Are you going with him steady and so on? She said no and so on. She'd been engaged before and they broke up. So the one that was in the military, he was in the Marines or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So she was kind of like on the rebound. And anyway, we got to know each other. We dated. And I married her 6 months later.
Oh, yeah? I never knew that.
So, yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
You still got a message there every now and then, somebody's voice speaks.
Oh, really? Oh, that's weird. Because I don't hear it anymore. I pushed a button to get rid of it, so I'm not sure what my phone's doing. It's been doing some weird things lately. I don't know. So when you when you're going to build your own house, did it take like a lot of preparation? Did you like have to read up on a lot of books or anything like that, or no?
Well, there was no computers. When I was in high school, I had taken drafting. So I knew the basics, and I got books and pamphlets on these floor plans and everything else, so I could figure how much it would cost.
Mm-hmm.
I had to be able to submit all that.
Yeah.
And then I drew up the plans to the house.
Yeah.
And I turned around and what I didn't know, I didn't know that much about carpentry, like the 2x4s and the rafters and all this stuff. So I would go to the bank, I would go to the library and read the book, check them out, read some while I was there, check them out, and then the kids would go with me over to the public library, and I put them in the children's section, and I get the books I wanted, and I go down to the children's section with them.
Yeah.
So Michelle and Renee would read some of the kids' books.
Mhm.
So you know, it was a learning experience.
Yeah. So did you?
That's why I said you know, anybody can have what we have in America if you want to work, but you got to put. I would have rather been out doing something else than sitting there trying to read, and make notes, how to do things.
Mhm.
But that's not the way the real world works.
Yeah.
If you want it, you got to work for it. Unless you have to hit the lotto.
Yeah. Then you can have everything done for you.
Don't hold your breath. The odds are too great.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's that one recently. I think it was like $300 million or something. That would have been pretty nice.
Well, it's just like they're screwing all the old people in this country, the Congress and the Senate. They got their raise.
Yeah.
All they did was voted on it, and they got their money. They haven't had a raise for 3 years. So I mean, there's no cost of living. There was before that. There were cost of living rates.
Right. Yeah.
And then away the money that you're paying on income tax and stuff to Iran, $500 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have fed a lot of people, a lot of seniors.
Yeah.
So, all we gotta do is get all these dum-dums out of the Congress.
Yeah.
Get a whole new bunch in there.
Yeah. That sounds pretty difficult. I mean, it sounds like a lot of people want that to happen, but it's kind of hard.
You gotta get people in there that will, it always was an honor to serve in the government after they first started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And now it's got to be a position where you can make money while you're there because of the lobbyists will pay you off or give you trips,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in order to get your vote.
Yeah.
What
So,
else do you want to know?
how much would you say that maybe it cost you for building your house versus if someone else was building it? Like a huge difference?
Oh, yeah, I thought that with the labor that you had to figure your labor and the material and so on, it would have.
Are you still there? Hello? One sec, my phone's doing something.
And they tell you, and if it isn't done right, you do it over again, and so on and so forth with the thing. So you had to be able to do something in order to get it habitable to live in.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be done right.
Yeah. So my phone cut out for a minute there for some reason. So how much did you said it was a big savings to you. Did you say how much you thought how much it cost you versus how much it cost them? Because my phone, I don't know, did something weird there for a second.
Yeah, well, I don't know what the figures are, and actually, I wouldn't tell you anyway, I don't think.
Oh,
If
okay.
I knew the figures. No, I'm just saying, I saved a lot of money by doing it myself,
Yeah.
and doing it with help. I have to figure the other people
Right.
who helped me, Uncle Bobby, and so on, that I didn't have to pay, and so I really don't know.
Right. Yeah.
All I know is that I never would have been able to afford
Right.
to build this house
Yeah. So do you think that?
if I hired a contractor to do it.
Yeah. So do you think that you learned a lot of skills in the process of building that you didn't know before? Or like?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did, yep. I learned a lot of skills, and then when I thought about was interested in going into business in the 60s, like swimming pools,
Mhm.
and I did a lot of research on it, and Marilyn, she didn't really want it because for me to go into business because it would be to the idea that, I mean, one day, you know, 1 month you'd have, or 1 week you'd have $500, and 2 weeks you might not have any.
Right. So not reliable.
So it's there, and you didn't have any insurance, and, you know, this, that, the other thing. And Bobby was interested.
Mhm.
In fact, he was, so he started the business.
Yeah.
I helped him by doing installation. I learned to run a backhoe payload to help him. I took our own pool. He let me borrow the equipment on a Sunday.
Mhm.
And his men, when they were on a Sunday, they came over and helped trowel it and so on and so forth. So like I say, a lot of it was helping each other
Yeah.
to get ahead.
So you said that you think you did learn some skills from building your own house. Was there any specific things that you thought that you learned how to do, or not really?
Well, even then, you go to books to find out, because there still weren't computers.
Right.
You went to books to find out about this or about that, or from pamphlets how to do this, how to do that.
Yeah.
Or handyman's books where they tell you how to, they put a pool, Mr. Williams pool in with plywood and this and that, and then put a liner over it. You learn, you try to learn as much as you can.
Yeah.
And I think we're just about done then, okay?
What?
I think we're just about done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I only had a couple more questions anyways, except then I told you I had a couple general questions that the teacher told me I needed to ask as well. If I needed to ask tomorrow, it's fine too, or I don't know.
Well, I want to watch some of that, no, it's not the talent show is not now.
Oh, okay.
But there's some other things just that's coming up on the wrestling and so on.
Yeah.
I just about ran out of talking.
Can I ask a couple more questions, or do you want me to wait till tomorrow, or what?
Well, if you can hurry them up, we'll take it.
Alright, well I just had a couple more quick about the building your house, if that's okay. Let's see. Do you think was it physically hard to build your house?
Yes, it was. Hard and trying to do a job where you were working in a mill and hold that end up and then coming home, grabbing a sandwich and coming over here and working at 10, 11 o'clock at night. Yes, it was very difficult.
What do you think the toughest part of building the house yourself was?
Well, trying to do it right and hoping you did it right.
Yeah.
And, when somebody is going to inspect it and so on.
Right.
Because a lot of things, they weren't inspecting everything.
Right.
And you just wanted to turn around and do the best you can.
Right. Do you think that there was anything that you would have done any differently, or do you think you did everything the way you wanted it to be?
You always second guess yourself after you draw up a set of plans and so on. I think it would have worked out better if I turned around and put the main doorway here, and I turned around and made a see-through fireplace where it would be the one from the front bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have the fireplace, and then the living room on the other side of it, you'd have the fireplace too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's always something more that you might do different.
Right.
You just can't do everything you like. Hope you make the right decision as you go along.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I got one more. And then I guess a couple I would ask you tomorrow if you wanted me to, or no. I don't know. But I wouldn't ask him tonight because you said you were wanting to be done. Is building your house something that you're proud of too? Like you said, being in the military is something that you're proud of.
I didn't quite get that question.
Oh, I said, you said being in the military was something that you're proud of. Would you say that building your own house is something that you'd say you're proud of?
Yes, absolutely. Somebody over the years, you turn around and say something. You built your house? How'd you do that? Because I had enough expertise on one end for how to do 2 or 3 different things,
Mm-hmm.
and then going to the library to find out what you didn't know. That a 2x4 is not a 2x4. It's 1 7/8.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
You have to put them in the right place, or you can't nail your sheetrock where you're failing to do it. So,
I didn't.
There were a lot of things you had to learn.
Yeah. I didn't know that about the 2x4, so.
Yeah, well, a 2x4, everybody says, oh, it's a 2x4.
Yeah.
No, it isn't. They're not 2x4. They're 2 inches thick,
Mm-hmm.
so they're 1 7/8. Not.
Oh, okay.
They turned around and took 1/8 of an inch off because they can make more 2x4s. manufacturers.
Oh, that's weird.
Instead of being 4 inches and 3 7/8, so they took 1/8 of an inch off the other. Well, if you do that over 10 million, you turn around and you made a lot of extra 2x4s.
Yeah.
You made a lot.
That's weird.
They're a good businessman.
Okay. So you said you are done with questions today. Is it okay if I ask you tomorrow or something, the remaining couple that I have, or no?
What would the remaining couple be?
Well, I mean, I guess they're, I don't know, more than a couple. They're more just random ones, like about, that I was supposed to ask you, you know, more about you necessarily, not so much about, I was supposed to ask about some events or whatever, which are like your military, you know, building your house, and I have to ask some more questions just about you, I guess. So.
I just think it made me a better man to be able to build a house and made me very proud, just like the military did.
Yeah.
That's all.
Mhm.
That kind of puts them all in